Scary big monsters from Cabin in the Woods explored. If you haven't seen the 2011 horror mystery The Cabin in the Woods yet, put your Netflix watchlist on hold for an hour and check it out now. Directed by Drew Goddard and written by Goddard together with Joss Whedon, The Cabin in the Woods is almost like a cross between any horror movie whoever played on stereotypical horror tropes and was highlighted with more stereotypical and typical horror creatures. Kristin Connolly as Dana, Chris Hemsworth as Kurt, Anna Hutchinson as Jules, Jesse Williams as Holden, and Fran Kranz as Marty. They are a classic horror movie teen troupe that goes to a cabin in the woods for fun. But every action here is orchestrated by an organization as part of a ritual that prevents giants from destroying humanity. The truth behind your misfortune. Since the film ends in a gloomy way and the old ones take over the film, it is strongly influenced by The Evil Dead, which can be seen again and again with the premise and many of its creatures, besides the fact that the film draws strong influences from many other sources of fantasy and horror. They can be discovered mostly during the famous bloodbath scene of the system cleanup, where every monster is unleashed. In this video we will break down the movie and show you what stereotypes were characterized, how everything was orchestrated, and some of the most iconic creatures that are shown in the movie. Before going into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thanks. Let's start. Enough to get you there. That's her worry, when an old man warns her not to go there. Don't go there. The Cabin in the Woods. The movie starts with two men, Hadley and Citizen, discussing topics like parental control cabinets and fertility. This makes the premise seem quite ambiguous, as they can be seen in an institution that looks like it could be engaged in engineering or research. The audience is confused here, because what could two engineers have to do with a film called The Cabin in the Woods? I'm on a reality TV show. Wendy Lin joins the conversation and talks about the fact that Stockholm is going south and only Japan is staying in the USA, and the game betting pools are mentioned in the matter as if it were something important, but the situation is under control. Suddenly, the film's logo pops up with a scream that contrasts the more official industrial vibe of the scene. This draws the audience's attention to the fact that The Cabin in the Woods is probably not a typical slasher movie where you would see something bigger than just being attacked by supernatural killers as here in the game. The movie introduces Dana, Jules, Kurt to Marty and Holden. The main actress Dana comes out as an introverted, guarded girl, but it turns out that she dated and slept with her professor. Kurt is a hardworking guy studying sociology. Jules has dyed his hair blonde and behaves like a stereotypical, dizzying blonde character. Marty is a stoner, while Holden is intelligent and scientific in a camper van. They are heading for a cabin in the forest that belongs to Kurt's cousin. A place for a fucking weekend where they can't position my ass globally. It takes place on several popular horror tropes. The most obvious one is that a bunch of teenagers go to a remote area and stay in a shack, as seen in movies like Cabin Fever. Along the way, they also come across a suspicious man, another classic trope that can probably be seen in movies like House of Wax and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. When they reach the place, they seem to admire the cabin, and a certain sexual tension arises between Dana and Holden when they see each other undressing at the opposite ends of the one-sided mirror. At this moment, the scene shifts back to the industrial environment of the facility and we see that it's like a reality TV show where everything is arranged by the engineers at the facility for unknown reasons. From the conversations we learn that these scientists are pulling strings to increase the sexual libido of Jules about their blonde hair color. Their values are good, but we recommend a 50 mg shock taste to increase libido. You get a call from a man talking about things like, it's really very confusing at this point, but this event foreshadows what will come soon. Meanwhile, the entire cabin is a zone controlled by the establishment, as people are betting on the upcoming events that will take place in the cabin. It's like the Harbinger. It's this creepy old man who is practically carrying a sign that you're going to die. The gang is playing truth or dare while drinking. Jules is being made to flirt and make out with the head of a wolf, which probably came from a hunt and was prepared. The cellar door suddenly opens and they all go down the stairs to reinforce another stereotypical horror trope in which people deliberately follow the danger. There they find a diary, a dancing doll, oriental dolls, a conch shell, a ball-like device and a necklace, among other things. Dana reads the diary, which is about a girl with one hand who lives in a problematic family dynamic. Some Latin phrases are mentioned and she reads them. Even if Marty advises against it. Okay, I'm drawing a line in the sand here, don't read the Latin. Cut to the wrong forest and we see something emerge from the ground back in the facility. Some people are disappointed that the zombies have been brought to life instead of the other creatures. The computer screens show something similar in other countries such as Kyoto and Japan, Rangoon and Myanmar, and Berlin and Germany are displayed on the screen with the notification of errors. The cast is once again in the living room having fun. Jules is portrayed as a very sexual woman as she flirts with the other men in the room. Strangely, her boyfriend Kurt is pretty cool because she behaves promiscuously. The two go out of the house together to let off some steam, the one caused by their artificially increased libido. Marty, the stoner, finds it uncomfortable that a guy who was an academic suddenly behaves like a typical high school athlete who is portrayed in movies with his Letterman jacket and excessive beer drinking, while someone like Jules behaves interestingly. After working on this film, co-author Joss Whedon finally chose Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Holden to put a scene on glasses and read Latin while we find out that Dana is like a virgin, although she really is not, but it is forced. Jules and Kurt are in the forest and he is trying to have sex with her. She feels uncomfortable doing it in a strange place, and she feels that the atmosphere is cool. Okay guys, that's it, let's go. We have a job to do. The engineers are regulating the temperature and lighting while they are setting up a pheromone mist to turn on Jules more while the two are trying to have sex. While the men are using him as a source of fan service, the members of the zombie redneck torture family attacked him. In the end, Jules gets killed and Kurt comes running back to the cabin covered in blood. He alerts everyone one of the zombies is showing them Jules' severed head with weirder chemicals that are being let into the room. Everyone's rationality is impaired, except Marty is probably due to the weeds while the zombies are attacking. That they are all locked up. Cable rings and notes that you are in a reality TV-like situation where, presumably, another zombie comes to him after each death. Blood flows into a silhouette, but we only see what it means at the end. The facility shows the scientists, who are upset that every country has failed in the hut after Japan's loss. Kurt, Dana and Holden set off to escape from the place. Kurt plans to cross it on his bicycle and return with help, but although his jump looks long enough to cross it, he bumps into an invisible wall and falls into the abyss. Dana realizes that something is controlling her, which Marty had mentioned earlier, when he saw the obvious change in everyone's behavior. The two are walking in a different direction in the camper when a zombie attacks Holden and kills him. Scientists are watching the situation and think that Dana is the only one who is still alive. They suddenly party. Their party comes to a standstill when they find out that Marty is still alive and is ruining their river. Dana and Marty go back to the cabin while he tells her about everything that is being orchestrated and leads her into an elevator. You go downstairs and see a creature holding the bullet from the basement. While the camera is panning, we see some other creatures like the Blob, a huge lady, werewolves, zombies, meermen, unicorns, dolls, witches and some others. It turns out that no matter what happens, Dana could not die from Marty. The reason is still unclear. An attack team is sent to eliminate them, and they hide in the control room. Dana presses all the buttons and that gives way to the most intense and bloodiest scene of the movie, The Purge. The cages open and all the deadly creatures attack the team, tearing them to shreds. There is a huge basilisk-like snake-winged creatures, unicorns, clowns, mutants, reptiles, hell lords of Hellraiser. Kevin from Sin City they call it. The place turns into a bloodbath and we also see Patience, the girl who wrote in the diary. The Dana read aloud. The creatures break into the control room and Hadley is eaten by a sea man. At the end, Dana and Marty enter a room on the ground floor that looks like a place for cult rituals. A woman who is the director comes out and explains everything to them. The 5 silhouettes, into which blood flowed after each death, represented a trope of the Jules, the athlete Kurt, the scholar Holden, the fool Marty and the virgin Dana. Although they did not exactly fit, had to get along with what they had. They used methods to get her to act accordingly and offered her as a sacrifice to the ancients to prevent her from reappearing and conquering the world according to the rules of who dies first and the virgin dies last. They had 8 more minutes to die, otherwise humanity would be doomed, but the virgin could be kept alive. Dana decides to kill Marty because the whole world was at stake, but she is attacked by a werewolf in the end. The director is killed by Patience, and Dana and Marty resurrect the old ones, which leads to the end of mankind. Horror films are often plagued with stereotypes like the ones already mentioned, and The Hut in the Forest plays with these tropes that reinforce them, since everything is part of something much bigger. With monotony taking over the horror genre, writers Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon who tried to bring something fresh into to help the horror reclaim itself from its declining reputation in the film industry. They wrote the script after locking themselves in a room for 3 days, from which the first draft emerged. It also houses a variety of pop cultural references with its puppet-like creatures, clowns, werewolves and other beings. It would not have been particularly amazing if we were to see the creatures from established horror movies like Pennywise from its Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Freddy Krueger from The Nightmare on Elm Street, Jack Torrance from The Shining, the Pale Man from the Pan's Labyrinth, and so on. But that would probably require a lot of legality, so similar creatures were used to give the audience a similar taste. Deadly monsters that appeared in the movie. The movie offers a wide arsenal of monsters, some of which are popular in horror, some inspired by other movies and some are original. They were provided to the facility by the ancients to perform the sacrificial rituals after the incantation accordingly, and for each monster there was an item that can summon it. In fact, the creators have sculpted over 60 artifacts for the vendor scene. Although not all of them have been shown or visibly seen, they are mainly seen during the Cube prison scene in a system cleaning scene. Here are some of our tips for the video.